Alright, so episode 3 of House of the Dragon just aired, and the changes that they're making, I'm not sure. Half of them, I'm like, yeah, that was really good. The other half, I'm like, that was really bad, and probably the worst decision that could have been made. And I don't know how I feel about this series so far. So first impressions, mostly I'm going to focus on the first 3 episodes, but I am going to talk about spoilers for the entire dance. So if you don't know the major plot points of the dance, bye. Alright, first of all, reason for this video, Criston Cole. Oh my god, I hate this character so much more in the series than I did the books. Like, that meme of if this man has 1,000 haters or 1,000,000 haters, I'm one of them. If he has 1 hater, it's me. If he has 0 haters, I'm dead. Because, oh my god, every decision with this character makes me hate him more and more. That is a compliment, because how do you make me hate a character this much? It's impressive. The vile feelings I have towards his actions, his hypocrisy, feeling like he is better and morally upright, yet he's making all these decisions and condemning others for making the same decisions. His hatred for Rhaenyra stemming from rejection. So he slept with her in season 1 and then proposed to her, not because really he was in love with her or anything like that, but he felt like he dishonored the White Cloak and his vow of chastity, and by marrying her, it would bring back his honor. Yet he expected her to give up the Iron Throne and run off to, Pentos or something, and just live the life of a merchant's wife? Or a sellsword's wife? Ridiculous. And for season 2, to introduce him sleeping with Alicent. Now, don't get me even started. I love Alicent's character. I hate her. But I love the hypocrisy in both these characters. I love to hate them. Her sleeping with Criston and both of them forsaking vows. Like, she's the, Queen Dowager, and to be sleeping with the knight of, or the leader of the Kingsguard. It's ridiculous. They judge Rhaenyra for doing things, supposedly sleeping with someone out of marriage and condemning her for it, yet they're doing it themselves. Alicent is all high and mighty about an eye for an eye, but no, a son for a son is too much. Like, your son killed her son, and you think a letter is going to solve this? Oh my god. Decisions made to flesh out their characters and make them more hypocrites than even the book suggested? Delightful choice. Excellent. I was so looking forward to after the beginning of episode 1. Granted, Winterfell was very, very short. I would have liked more, but if there's an element that could be skipped over or saved for flashbacks or season 3, yeah, Winterfell can go on the side until they become more relevant later on. Fine. But the focus on them really had me good. Then Blood and Cheese happened, and I'm like, this is the worst thing that could have happened. Already went into more detail than I needed to for my season 1 first impression thoughts, but to take away Maelor and have Helena, instead of being asked to choose between her 2 children, which one will you sacrifice, or we will kill all your children, and putting that, not blame, but choice on her, the heartbreak she feels, the devastation at choosing her younger son, only for Blood and Cheese to kill her eldest, the heir, and then she can no longer look at her younger son anymore after choosing him for death. The devastation, the heartbreak of putting her in that position. I get comparing it to the Red Wedding might feel like a little much, but really it wasn't. It was devastating. It came out of nowhere, had no idea what was about to happen. Maybe it's because I spoiled myself for the Red Wedding, and this I genuinely had no idea was going to happen when I was reading the books. I don't know. Blood and Cheese could have been absolutely emotionally traumatizing. But you get rid of Maelor. And without him, the scene just doesn't work the same. Yet we can have Darren, or whatever the hell his name is, with the Blue Queen, name dropped to be just off-screen chilling in Old Town. We couldn't have Maelor just... I don't really care. I wouldn't have recognized a different blonde-head child in the background of one scene. I'm not going to pay attention that we hadn't seen this second son set up previously, but whatever. I thought I was given the benefit of the doubt that this could actually work very well, because now we have a succession crisis on Aegon's side, because he lost his heir, his eldest, his only son in the case of the show, and now he only has a daughter. So he's put in the same position that his father Viserys was on. Do you name your daughter the heir, which is what they're fighting against with Rhaenyra, or does he name his brother his heir? And that could have been an interesting conversation, discussion, and feel like he was put in a place where he has no choice. He would have to name Aemond his heir, because he could not, because by the rights of his own succession, could not, well, technically he could. You could argue, well, he doesn't have a son. Viserys did have a son. So to sidestep his daughter in view of tradition to name his son by a second wife, fine. You could make it if you really wanted to make his daughter his heir. But I think it would have been far more interesting to say, no, a woman cannot be the heir to the Iron Throne. I'm setting a precedent, and I will sidestep. I'll place her aside for my brother, and then go, because Aegon is very interesting in the show compared to the book. The diving into his character of rejection from his father, growing up his entire life with his mother's side of the family whispering that he is the rightful king of the Seven Kingdoms, but his father repeatedly rejecting him and refusing him, never naming him heir, never paying attention to him, claiming really he only has the one child in Rhaenyra. That would be devastating to him. I don't want to make him sound like a good person, like clearly terrible things. Don't like him as a character, but interesting character. So maybe he would not want to set aside his only child. Maybe he wanted to be a better father, which we've seen as he was bringing his son into the council meetings, calling him his heir, his future. Maybe he would see Rhaenyra's point in, would be taking away my daughter's birthright to give it to my brother. That doesn't feel right to him. I will love that conversation. Guess what doesn't happen? Because the writing of this series is definitely a downstep compared to the books or even early Game of Thrones. So I'm just very frustrated with the choices made in Blood and Cheese to get rid of Maelor. I'm mostly upset because that means I'm not going to figure out what happened in Bitterbridge unless they bring in Maelor later on, have Helaena give birth to another son because he feels he needs an heir, a male heir, I guess, and then we can get Bitterbridge. So what happens in Bitterbridge, and I want to know what happened. It is madness. It is more brutal than Blood and Cheese in terms of you have one of the Kingsguard, I think it was the Kingsguard, taking a young Maelor to safety, can see safety in the distance. He's not far away. You'll get on the green side. Only for his cover to be blown as the child he's taking is Helena's last surviving son. And madness breaks out in Bitterbridge. The people rip Maelor apart. Supposedly, the stories are very unclear. He may be smothered by a crazy woman who says, no, this is my child. He could be torn apart in the mob. He could be hacked up by the butcher. Nobody knows exactly what happened. It's not that I want to know how he dies. I want to know what was the straw that broke the camel's back? What was the instigating factor that led to this madness? This chaotic mob mentality. I love mob mentality. It's so interesting to see on a screen. And I wanted to know what the outbreak for that moment was. What was the trigger that led to Maelor's death? But I'll never know if we don't introduce him as a character. Speaking of characters that I'm terrified we're not going to introduce, Nettles. Her character her actress has not been named yet in House of the Dragon, as far as I know. The last time I checked, there's rumors that they're cutting her character, and a rumor going around that her story is going to be given to Rhaena because her and her twin, Baelon, they need more screen time, so they're just going to take her character instead of giving her mourning. They'll give her sheep stealer, eater, whatever the dragon's name is. I'm upset. I'm like, please don't do that. Please don't do that. Because I need to know, and they'll just drop the whole Daemon love triangle thing. Because I want to know, is Nettles his bastard daughter? Is she his lover? Is she a child of the forest? We don't know. And if she's not introduced in the series, I'll never know. I'll never get any hint of an answer. It'll just be theories. And George R. R. Martin will traumatize me for these unanswered questions. Did I expect the TV show to be full canon, answer all the questions? God, no. No, terrible idea. But I wanted at least a little bit of, okay, it's still a mystery, because books, very unreliable narrator, but here's the answer that the show gave. Because we know that the truth is somewhere between all the rumors and what is recorded history and probably stuff lost to time. But I want to know who Nettles was. Yeah, there's a couple people online saying, well, the book isn't canon. It's a non-reliable narrator. And it's not the truth. The show is the truth. The show is canon. The show is missing characters. And a lot of the choices they're making are bad. So, no, the show is not canon either. The show is an alternate reality of similar events. Back to theories, back to editions that I've actually enjoyed. So back to Blood and Cheese, Daemon sending those Blood and Cheese to go after Aemond, not Aegon's heir, was a welcome change. And it was theorized, I've seen online for a long time, that his initial target was Aemond for revenge for Luke's death. And I love that confirmation. What I don't like is the watering down or pushing aside of the terrible things that the Black side did during this war. Because in the book is written by a maester who was firmly, most likely, Team Green, and would paint Rhaenyra in a bad light as well as Daemon. And again, the truth is somewhere mixed between reality and fiction of the book. God knows what actually happened. But little moments, like in season 1, I kind of like the fact that we didn't hear him say heir for a day in reference to Viserys' son that only lived that day. Leave it ambiguous for how he felt about his nephew's passing. Sure, but to take out the fact that he said if you couldn't find Aemon, then a son for a son, take any of Aegon's children. I would have liked to hear him say it. I would like more responsibility. I want more blame placed on Daemon on screen. I don't know. Going back to things I've enjoyed. Jaehaerys' funeral procession, which I don't think was in the book. That excellent scene. Otto using the propaganda to fuel hatred against Rhaenyra, linking her to Maelor the Cruel. Yes, great idea. Get the people on your side. Seeing Helaena and Alicent fall victim to this, having their grief put on display. Seeing Helaena watching the stuff that they're throwing down, and she is not seeing confetti or flowers or whatever they're throwing at her. Right, they would not be throwing food. It's not rice. Down upon her. Oh, she's seeing soot, concrete fall, the dragon pit, the brutal attacks on King's Landing. She's seeing images of that, paralleling that with Rhaenyra watching the dust in the hitting the light properly. Yes, excellent, beautiful imagery, excellent foreshadowing. Love the propaganda, love all that. Aemond, Aegon undercutting all of Otto's work by stringing up the rat catchers, like he did in the book, and for brutal revenge, because he cannot be seen as weak, that insecurity that he has to prove himself, to have a name, to have a reputation, to care what others think about him, and lashing out in violence and hatred. Gorgeous, beautiful idea. Brutal. Love it. Love it. Completely undercut by the idea that Helaena could just say, yeah, that one was the rat catcher. I recognize either his face or his voice. But it goes with, they're not talking to each other. And, like, they pass each other on the stairs, not knowing how to communicate. They're brother and sister, they're husband and wife. They have children together. And yet in this moment, when they have lost a son, they cannot communicate because they don't have any actual love for each other. Really? It's so good. It's a great idea. I love all of that. Cutting in, because apparently I'm not done talking about Aegon. Oh my god, I didn't even mention, he's now believing that his father had changed his mind about making him king. He's bought into what Alicent has been saying, about what Otto has been saying, that Viserys changed his mind. After all these years of rejection, he has been named king. And then Otto's just like, you actually believe that? As if saying, we have planted all this. We've manipulated you. We put you on the throne because we want you there, not because your father loved and chose you to be the next king because he thought you'd be a good ruler. And all this time, Aegon just wants to be beloved. He loved the cheering crowds for him. He loved the recognition. He wants to be admired and respected. He's trying his best on the Iron Throne, but has no idea the long-term plans of ruling and battle strategies and war. But he does have love for the people, if for no other reason. He wants them to love him. But, he gives into, like, his anger and stuff like that. He's such an interesting character in this series, and this series might genuinely make him one of my favorite in the show. And I hate myself for that because we also get a scene where the maid that he assaulted back in season 1 is now in a tavern and he doesn't even recognize her. And I can't believe they did that. Oh my god. I'm loving everything with Aegon. Focusing on how they were raised and Alicent's children versus Rhaenyra's children, when Jace comes back and he's grieving his brother, trying to hold it together, give his report to his queen, and he's breaking down, his mother comes to him and envelops him in a hug and they grieve together, whereas Alicent cannot comfort her children. You see them separated in the carriage and not even touching Helaena till the crowd starts going wild and she can only put her hand on her leg, not knowing how to offer comfort. Later on, she's trying to apologize to Helaena for what? I don't know, her entire life, marrying her after her brother, the abuse she's endured, and Helena's just, or the fact that she was sleeping with Criston Cole when he should have been on guard, protecting her and her children. God knows what she's apologizing for, being a terrible, neglected mother, but you can't really blame her because, her being a child bride, but then forcing her daughter to become a child bride. But Helaena just forgiving her for everything. I was so tempted. I was so wanted Alicent to like, what are you forgiving me for? I've done so many things. Or does she even recognize that she's done terrible things? I do love the depth of the characters in this series. It's so good. Aemond confessing in the brothel that he regrets that business with Luke. He didn't mean to take it this far, showing his vulnerability. But then, again, caring what others think. So when his brother finds him in the brothel at a later scene, he rejects the woman he was with, who he did seem to care for, but saying, she's as good as anyone, you can have her. I can see that playing into what's going to happen at Harrenhal. And the depth to these characters, they're really doing very well in that aspect. Back to Daemon and Rhaenyra. Daemon referring to himself and having others refer to him as king consort. At first in episode 2 when that came up, I'm just like, I kind of threw it away. I'm like, that's a weird element. I feel like he should still be prince consort if we're going with our logic for medieval history. But you know what? It's Game of Thrones, it's Song of Ice and Fire, whatever. They might have different rules. There's not really a precedent for a woman ruling as queen in her own right. So, okay, fine. But then for it to be called out in episode 3 saying, oh, I had just assumed you would still be prince consort. But Daemon wanting that recognition as king in any way. He's not liking how he got the name of king, how he's given it to himself, but he doesn't have the authority. Rhaenys saying, oh, but would you be king, which he tries to give her orders. It's such a good little touch, little moments, and it's fantastic. Only for him to go through Harrenhal, ends up at the Weirwood Tree, have that vision of past Rhaenyra sewing up Jaehaerys' neck and saying, I'm always cleaning up after you, like hinting at the depth of regrets, realizing what he's put her through, the pain he inflicted by killing an innocent child. I love that addition. And then for the witch lady to come out, Alicent Rivers, something like that, for her to come out saying, you're going to die here, to prophesize his death at this location, and him still choosing to return to it, him devoting himself to Rhaenyra completely. I think he's going to devote himself to her in this moment. This is when he realizes, to me, my interpretation, how he has wronged her, not respected her as his queen. He said previously that soldiers should protect or respect their liege lords no matter their position, and him realizing that he hasn't been doing that to his queen. I think this is the moment. It's like, I've been in the wrong headspace. Now I am loyal to Rhaenyra. And for her to not actually understand the depth of his devotion to her, him choosing to come back to a place he knew he was going to die to fight her last battle, take down her enemy. I love that moment so much. You have no idea how much I enjoyed that added element of prophesizing his death and him knowing and choosing to return at the end. I was happy about that addition. Speaking of prophecies that they added into the series, Aegon's dream, prince who was promised, this being the reason that he took over the Seven Kingdoms, to unite the realm, to be a force against the oncoming invaders and the White Walkers in death, to save the world. Yes, excellent idea. I love that addition. Why were people saying they didn't like that, feeling it tied too much into Game of Thrones? I seen that complaint in season 1. I felt it was a great addition. an addition that connects to Game of Thrones that I did not like, and this could just be the book lover in me. So Rhaenyra gives Rhaena the dragon eggs to take with her, and it's basically confirmed by the show writers that 3 of the eggs are the ones that will grow into become DANY'S dragons, and the other one's presumed to be morning that will hatch. And I'm praying to God that that one is morning, because I do not want Rhaena to have a sheep stealer, because I don't like that idea. It's just a theory that I've seen floating around that that's going to happen. No, give me nettles. No. The dragons that became DANY'S, I refuse. It's never been confirmed, but I refuse to believe it's not the eggs that were stolen generations ago and went off to the shadow cities and stolen by a lady who became a pirate. No, those were DANY'S eggs. I'm firm in that theory. I reject any other possibility, okay? That's probably just me not wanting that to change from the books and the theories, because I like that theory. Partly, I like Baelon getting more screen time in the series, and I think it's so interesting that Rhaenyra refused to let Jace keep an eye on King's Landing. She wants to keep her children close after losing Luke, but Baelon, her stepdaughter, is given charge of watching the gullets and is allowed to leave, and she doesn't need to keep her as close. So I like that little element of Rhaenyra's character. It's not good that she favors her own biological children over her stepchildren, but it's at least a flaw in her character, and I really feel like the show writers of this series are so heavily Team Black that they're taking out the moments where it's just like, oh god, that's not good. I want to talk about Adam and Alan. I'm upset. I'm so upset. I was praying that when they faked Laenor's death in season 1, that he would eventually return under a fake persona and some disguising himself, shaving his head. I don't know. Because how many people... there would probably be... Okay, it wouldn't work, but it was the only explanation I could think of for why they didn't kill him off in season 1. Was for him to return under a disguise and fight under a different name. Reclaim Seasmoke and then fight for Rhaenyra. And then I guess her thinking he betrayed her, it really doesn't... Well, the historians would think it's because he's bastard born, but maybe she would think it's because he wanted to name himself king or his own children king. I don't know. As her first husband, maybe it would make her other children not legitimate anymore because she married Daemon when he was still alive. Get rid of that possible consequence later down the road, and that's why she sent assassins after him. I don't know. I wanted him to return. I did not want Alan to be a new character. He could and Laenor could pretend that Alan was his brother. So in my little head canon for what I thought the show was going to be doing, Laenor would pretend to be this new character, Adam. But what happens instead, it seems like Seasmoke is growing restless, flying around, presumably because Laenor is in danger and Seasmoke is too far away to get to him. Or maybe I've seen people saying that the bond between the rider and the dragon apparently is so fickle that it can be broken just by Laenor leaving. No, it only makes sense to me if Laenor dies. That's the only way for Adam to claim Seasmoke, is for the riders to have died. Because otherwise, what is going to happen at the end of, if not this season, close to the end of the other seasons, is not going to make any sense to me at all. I do not believe that the bond between dragon and rider is so fickle that it can just be separated by distance and time, and being the rider saying, yeah, I don't want you anymore. So they are going to have to kill Laenor off screen rather than make Rhaenyra look like a bad person, or Daemon to look like a bad person, or a coincidence to have killed him in season 1. I really feel like they had wanted Daemon to be responsible for his death, or Rhaenyra to be responsible for his death, or even his lover to be responsible for his death. But that'd be a more interesting twist, make people like Rhaenyra more, if she was just helping him escape and to live his own life off in the free cities. I feel like the focus was to make Rhaenyra look good, not put any doubt on her involvement, possibly, in his death, not giving her any moral faults, I guess. And I'm so upset if they kill him off screen rather than a proper death in season 1. I don't like that idea. Other characters, Hugh the Hammer being in King's Landing, and seeming to be a genuinely good guy. I'm just waiting for him to lose everything and then deciding he wants to take power and control for himself. But he seems a lot smarter in the series than I got from the power-hungry rage that I've seen in the book. So I like that we're getting more with his character, supposedly. I think I like that. But was it Ulf the White? Him claiming to be Baelor's child, the brother of Jaehaerys. First, I thought he was slandering Jaehaerys' name, saying, "Oh, my grandfather or my father," something like that. Was Jaehaerys the good king's child? I'm like, he would never cheat on Queen Alicent. Not in a million billion years. I was ready to call for this man's head if that's what he was claiming. But no, he was claiming that Baelon, or Baelor, his son, that he was an offshoot there. I'm like, okay, he also loved his wife, but I'm not as obsessive with him as I am Jaehaerys, so I'll let it slide. But you couldn't be related to the sister who ended up becoming, the daughter who ended up becoming a madam in the Free Cities after she slept around all of Westeros for a while and got kicked out of or escaped the nunnery, killed somebody. You couldn't claim to be from her. You had to go with the beloved son. Pretty much just so you could get a connection between Daemon and Viserys and being Rhaenyra's uncle. I did not like that choice. He might be lying. It feels like he's lying, but we also know he is a dragon seed. So if it didn't come from Jaehaerys' line in some direction, I don't know where it came from, and I don't like it. What I just said is not meant to be shaming of Sarah Targaryen. Love her. Sweet princess. I'm happy she's living her best life. She deserves happiness. Lord knows what it was like growing up in King's Landing. I'm very possessive of Jaehaerys and his children. Okay, I love King Jaehaerys. He's the best king that the Seven Kingdoms have ever had, and I love him. And to say his child cheated, not cheated on, after she died, sired another child, he loved his wife too. He got that from his father. The thing I love the most, the choice to extend and flesh out the battle between the twins. So for Erryk, with the A, to be sent by the hypocrite of Criston Cole saying, "You're sullying your white cloak, your brother's a traitor, you have to end this war by going off," like forcing his hand to go off and slay Rhaenyra in secrecy using methods that are very not honorable. I hate Criston Cole. And then to come across his brother, for them to fight, for them screaming at each other, "We came into this world together," or you separated us. The love that they have for each other as they're fighting, as they're trying to kill each other. And it perfectly demonstrates the themes of the entirety of Fire and Blood. The love of two houses split apart for fighting for opposing sides, that there is no winners, that innocent people will be torn apart, and the conflict that it will ensue. There is no winning. They kill each other. And Erryk, Team Black, ends up having to take his own life because he can't live with killing his brother. Episode 2 was the best episode of the series so far, mostly for their fight and how well it demonstrates the themes of the series. I also love that Mysaria ended up seeing Erryk and turning him in to save Rhaenyra's life, because I didn't really like how she became like the Master of Whispers for Rhaenyra's court when she gets to King Landing, when she had been Daemon's mistress. Their connection felt like something was missing. So for her to be on Dragonstone, for them to respect each other, for her to have saved Rhaenyra's life, for her to have seen mercy in Rhaenyra, I do like that change, that they're communicating and on the council now together. So I do like that. The Brackens and the Blackwaters, again, demonstrating long-standing feuds and purposes of the Dance of Dragons just in general, because those two houses have been warring and bickering. They're just looking for excuses to kill each other right up into the main series. And it's never explained why. The reason is lost to time. They're just fighting because they hate each other's name. It's blood and fire all over again, and they're not even Targaryens. sin begets sin, and they're just looking for bloodshed. They're looking for vengeance for a reason they don't even know the cause of. And that's emphasized with Rhaenys saying that eventually people aren't even going to know what started this war. It's just going to be fighting for the sake of fighting. War for war's sake and violence and blood. Will it be the trigger be when Luke died, when Jaehaerys died, when Aemond lost his eye? The cause won't matter. They're just going to be fighting for fighting's sake. And it's a good addition. I love the Blackwaters. I love that we missed the burning mill, but the devastation of that battle, the countless deaths lost, all of them, it's so tragic, so well done. I can't wait for Bloody Ben to make an appearance again. It's so good, so good. But Rhaenyra tries to mitigate the situation, tries to stop the war as if it could be stopped. We're past the War of Ravens. We are into the full-on war with dragons. Yet repeatedly we're bringing up, if we use our dragons, then they'll use their dragons and the casualties will be endless. Which makes sense for season 1, before her son died, before Daemon had another child killed. It's too late to stop this war. So for her to go to King's Landing, not even having Daemon's black cloak of I'm going to go get into some mischief, but instead dresses as like one of the sisters to go speak with Alicent? Are you kidding me? As if Alicent could even stop this war if she wanted to? Exactly how much control does Rhaenyra think Alicent has? How much sway does she have on the council? Does Rhaenyra actually think Alicent could stop this war if she wanted? No, it is the stupidest decision I have ever seen to make Rhaenyra go to King's Landing, where she will be executed if caught. With what, 1 Kingsguard to protect her? Ridiculous. Goes up to Alicent with a little tiny knife and being like, I'll kill you before they get me. Alicent would have screamed. Alicent would have screamed. Rhaenyra's head be on a spike. Just saying. For them to have a conversation, because again, she wants to find a way towards peace if possible. Again, making Rhaenyra be this righteous hero with no flaws, apparently, because she's doing everything to stop the war, and Alicent being the one who's stopping it. I don't like this decision. I don't like it. I don't like it. I'm convinced the only reason this scene exists is so Alicent can realize she was wrong. So the two, I would have loved for them to just continue fighting, believing that the other is wrong in the sense that Rhaenyra was named the heir, and Alicent firmly believes, because she believed that Viserys, who had held fast to Rhaenyra's claim his entire life, and when he was on his deathbed, drunk on milk of the poppy, blabbering hysterically, said Aegon's name, as if the Targaryens didn't reuse the same 4 names a zillion different times, must have believed that he was talking about her son Aegon to be the king, not even Rhaenyra's son, who just was named Aegon the Younger. No, that was him renouncing Rhaenyra's claim. So she firmly actually believes that her son should be king and Viserys had chosen him on his deathbed, that he changed his mind. I would love for her to go the entire war believing that. But sure, if she has to find out she was mistaken, that's great. But for Rhaenyra to sneak into King's Landing, for her to realize this, to realize that when he said the prince that was promised, he was talking about Aegon the Conqueror, not Aegon the Elder, her son. And then for her to still hold fast, saying there was no mistake. She knows she was wrong, but she can't admit it. It's too late. It's too late to stop it. So she lets Rhaenyra leave, probably thinking that's mercy. That's the right thing to do. The hypocrite can't take accountability for what she has done. Works well for her character. Makes me hate her even more than I already did. But this was the stupidest setup ever. You couldn't just have her admiring the dagger and holding it to the candle and getting the message about the prince was promised, flashback to Viserys saying the prince that was promised, and realizing in that way that she was wrong, to have that realization and know there's no turning back. But regardless, the war has started. Countless are going to die. And I hated the addition of Rhaenyra going to King's Landing. I hate it so very much. Because when she returned to King's Landing, it was supposed to be on dragon back with blood and fire in her wake. I hated the ending of episode 3. So that's all I got. I love elements that they added so very much. But I hate elements that they added or not paid off properly so much more. And I don't know how I'm going to feel about this series by the end of it. This season, oh, it's testing my patience. It's testing my love for it. I don't know how much is me genuinely upset about the choices that's being made, or just me loving the book and not wanting changes. Not because I resist changes. There are plenty of instances where I think the show is better than the book. But I feel like it could have been done better. If it was done better in the book, why not adapt the book? If you want to make changes that make it better, or tell a different story, or push a different theme, or push the themes differently, or expand on something, or you have to condense things, obviously. But in situations where it's just not necessary, like removing Baelor made no sense, especially if you're not going to continue on with the succession conversation. Rhaenyra going to King's Landing is a stupid decision. I don't know what to think. That's all I got. Talk to you later. I appreciate you listening to me rant.